Good morning. I'm Frank Kaufmann. I'm the president of the Settlement Project. I'm speaking today on the 11th of November, 11/11. It's Veterans Day, an important day for people who try to live in a sphere of gratitude and even indebtedness, especially to those who have paid the ultimate price for our country. So the comfort we enjoy, the necessities that are so abundantly managed for us, our food, our shelter, our clothing and our freedoms. So on Veterans Day, we should be mindful and should pause. Honestly, should pause uh, to simply have a humble moment in front of those who, for an ideal, but in a certain way, for each of us personally, have made our lives uh, free and prosperous. When I say prosperous, I'm not talking about the plain pursuit of excess wealth. I'm talking about the ability to have what we need. That's prosperity, to have what we need. And we have it here. Not everyone does. The current situation in the United States is quite fractured. But I don't think, to my feel, not especially more fractured than it has been ever since President Trump announced his candidacy in the middle of 2016 or 15. I think that the something about him brought the deep and evolving fissure between two sides of people more prominently and in more high relief. And I think that it has remained and intensified all throughout the time of his presidency. So uh, people are saying that because the election is contested, that we are in a worse situation than we've ever been, or the country is more fractured than it's ever been. But I disagree with that. It doesn't even feel particularly problematic to me. It feels like a calm before the storm. There's a group of people with a great deal of influence who are invested in having Vice President Biden uh, take the reins for the next 4 years. And there's a group of people without the without the benefits of establishment, but a very strong and committed group of people that are as committed or more, well, hard to say there, that are as committed and hopeful to see a Trump presidency for the next 4 years. But in terms of the country being more divided, it doesn't feel that way at all. The first 3.5 years of the Trump administration, there was the constant effort to have him removed from office many, many times from people inside of his own administration, political bureaucrats and careerists in the political establishment in Washington that he inherited. And so the Mueller report, we have short memories, but the Mueller report was a horrific assault on a single individual. 3.5 years, $38 million, 25 lawyers. I mean, I know that if a local cop has something in for me, I'm done. And imagine that degree of firepower leveled against you with relentlessly. Immediately after that, proved empty, and perhaps worse, depending on your political opinion. Instantly, the House rammed through uh, on a party line vote, an impeachment uh, of the president. It was very fascinating to watch. But all this recollection is just to say that our current situation vis-a-vis the present status of the election is simply no different for those who follow closely. You see the exact same players at work, and their basic purpose is that Trump be removed from office as quickly as possible. They wanted to do it uh, even during his transition. They wanted to prevent it during his campaign. They wanted to do it during his transition. And they continued until, well, it just continues. And so the election is now the current same design, which is held and owned often quite vehemently and quite emotionally by many. Um, it's unfortunate that the country is divided. My only point to start with was simply to say that it's not particularly divided right now. It has been for a very long time. Something about President Trump brings it into higher relief. That has been relentless and unyielding from the second he set foot into the political arena, and it just continues now. He's seen and felt by many to somehow be just the the single most horrible thing that's ever happened in their lives and must be removed. That's sincere. It's sincerely felt, and I have I won't have any comment on people for their sincere beliefs. I've tried to my best to understand um, where, why, how he's hated as he is, and all my liberal friends will can testify how hard and how sincerely I've made effort to understand how they view him as problematic as they do. It's extremely problematic, not mildly problematic. Okay, so now we have an election which on Saturday morning at 10:28 in the morning, AP Decision Desk called the election for President Biden. Um, this this happened this happened 2 minutes before the president's attorney had scheduled a press conference to delineate the extent of voter fraud and election tampering throughout the United States. And so he was about to present that at a press conference. Of course, the mainstream media didn't cover that. That's no surprise. We're familiar now with how media organizes itself. And but literally 2 minutes prior, AP Decision Desk declared declared Vice President Biden the winner. I'd like to report that personally, my view, that nothing could be more irresponsible. No single act on earth, save waging war and killing lots of people, no single act on earth could be more irresponsible than AP's decision to make that declaration while millions of votes are being counted, millions of votes, and there are close to 2,000 cases with sworn affidavits of election fraud and vote tampering. So, um, following AP, which is somehow, I don't know why, honestly, the gold standard or the deciding thing, it put a lot of people in a difficult situation. Most of the major networks followed that and made the call along with AP. And the poor Biden campaign, what are they going to do? Personally, I kind of imagine that they all work together, but I'm not going to put that on my listeners here. Um, maybe it was all worked out, and the Biden campaign knew that they were going to have to respond publicly, and I think Vice President gave it was a nice enough speech, I guess, but it was unfortunate for him to have been put in this situation, to have to make this declaration or make this speech, because basically what the media or the press call a winner or announce a winner when when votes are certified, or when one of the members of the party concede, once the concession call is made, at that point, so the media calls as best it sees results coming in. But in this particular election, and I fully disagree with this, but nevertheless, it was established that some states could count for as late as November 12th. So, in a certain way, the media kind of is part of, and is trapped in not being able to do what it loves to do, and that's break news. You can't, the votes are being counted, and so they call projections. Projections are legitimate. You can call projections. And so, but to call a winner while votes are being counted and while thousands of uh, cases in court for voter fraud are still to be decided. This was a very great disservice that the media is perpetrating on Americans and on the world. Foreign leaders are in a difficult situation, following constant repeating president elect, when the simple fact, regardless of what one's party affiliation or who one hopes to have as their president. I mean, if I were an honest Biden supporter, I I would have to if I abandoned all personal interest or power concerns, I would have to utter the simple fact that there is no president elect presently. I could be a diehard Biden supporter, but I would be compelled, if honest, to say that the use of the word president elect is illegitimate. It's not. Everyone knows, including all the people who are constantly, their job is to understand politics. That's their job, is to report on politics. And yet uh, they're using terms which they know are illegitimate. This is what makes the work of the media suspect, and what makes so many people uh, um, having lost faith in the media, because Americans are treated as stupid, but they're not stupid. They know what the term president-elect means, and they know what are the legal and political requirements for the term to be used. Okay, so that's our situation now. That there's those people who hope to see President Trump have a second 4 years in office, and they're involved in trying to expose voter fraud, um, and to try to force recounts. The slogan of the Trump supporters is "Count all legal votes. Count all legal votes." This is the only thing Trump supporters are asking, is that all Americans feel that the election was fair, the process was fair, the vote count was fair, and I think you'll be quite surprised to see there'll be a lot of people, Trump supporters, who will be very aggressively opposing the administration, Biden administration, but not violently. You can be sure of that. Um, but they will continue to work for the good of America, even in a Biden administration. But for now, this group does not does is not sure that Biden was elected legally. There are, as I said, close to 2,000 cases with sworn affidavits of election tampering, and Trump supporters want to see these ironed out properly and legally, so that all Americans can feel confident that it was a free and fair election. So um, I wanted to speak about how this country became fundamentally divided as it is now, which was not the case. It became increasingly the case from the mid '90s on, um, and I'd like to speak to that. But I think I've used sufficient time just to describe the current situation given the recent election. I would like to encourage my listeners to uh, stop using the term president-elect because it's harmful, it's dangerous, it's not healthy because should the courts and should it be discovered that there was widespread election fraud or there was malfeasance on the part of the media to make that call, they're actually stirring up a community, namely Biden supporters, to be extremely angry. And um, there's already been a lot of violence in the streets in America of people who have various things that disturb them or make them angry. And that violence continues today. So, what I really urge is simple patience and calm and respect and honesty uh, for the process and for one another. Thanks a lot for listening. Talk to you again soon.